What happens when the love you once had starts to fade? At first, it was perfect. You couldn't imagine life without each other. Every moment together felt like a step toward forever. But then, something shifted. You're sitting across from each other at dinner, but the conversations are short. The smiles are fewer. The warmth? Slowly disappearing. The connection you once felt is slipping through your fingers, and you're left wondering what went wrong. Why do women, in particular, begin to feel resentment, frustration, or even indifference toward their husbands as they get older? Is it just a part of life? Or is there something more beneath the surface that causes this change? In this video, we'll explore the real reasons behind this shift in relationships that no one talks about, and how it's not just about time passing, it's about the things that gradually chip away at the foundation of what once felt unshakable. If you find value in this video, kindly like, share and subscribe to enable us to grow this community. 1. The idealistic beginnings. The spark of love. When two people first meet, it's like the world is brimming with endless possibilities. It's fresh, it's exciting, and it's full of promise. Every look, every touch feels like something new. From the very beginning, everything is seen through rose-colored glasses. You find yourself drawn to their quirks, the way he laughs, the way he speaks, his habits that no one else could ever pull off. They become part of what you adore about him. His imperfections? They seem perfect to you. You talk about the future with stars in your eyes, dreaming of all the places you'll go, all the experiences you'll share. Together, you build a vision of life, one that seems impossible to break. His goals become your goals, and the future becomes a shared dream. The connection feels solid, untouchable. There's a sense of excitement that runs deep, something that makes you feel that no matter what, this is it. This is the person you'll grow old with. Everything seems perfect, and you think, this love will last forever. 2. The passage of time. The shifting of expectations. But time, as it always does, begins to change things. The sparkle that was once so bright now seems a little dimmer. At first, it's subtle. His little habits, once endearing, start to feel like annoyances. The way he always leaves his dirty clothes on the floor, or how he always forgets to take out the trash, things you once smiled at now make you roll your eyes. The things that were cute and charming start to feel like a burden. It's not that you've stopped loving him, but something feels different. And it's not just the little habits that have changed. It's you. It's him. It's both of you. You realize that expectations, once high and full of hope, have now collided with the realities of life. Things that once seemed easy, like balancing work, home life, and your relationship, now feel like a constant juggle. The dreams you shared have now become the reality you face every day, and the excitement of the future feels less thrilling. The patience you once had, the willingness to compromise, is now gone. The more time that passes, the more you wonder, was I too idealistic about what this relationship was supposed to be? 3. The emotional labor imbalance. As time goes on, a deeper issue begins to emerge, the imbalance of emotional labor. In most long-term marriages, women often find themselves shouldering the emotional burden of the relationship. From making sure everyone's needs are met to keeping track of appointments, making sure the bills are paid, and still managing to keep up with work and other responsibilities, it all falls on her shoulders. She becomes the planner, the organizer, the caretaker, and the emotional anchor. But what happens when this responsibility isn't shared equally? What happens when her partner, despite being a part of this marriage, is disengaged? She carries the weight of keeping everything afloat while he remains passive. It's not that he doesn't care, but somewhere along the way, he stops seeing how much effort it takes. Over time, that imbalance doesn't just tire her out, it makes her resentful. She starts to feel as if she's doing all the work, emotionally, mentally, and physically, and it starts to take its toll. The more she carries, the less she feels supported. The more she feels isolated in this burden, the more distant she becomes from him. And before she knows it, the love she once felt starts to fade, not because it wasn't there, but because it was buried beneath an overwhelming weight of unmet expectations and responsibilities. 4. Changing roles and the empty nest. Then comes another shift, the transition from raising children to an empty nest. For many women, this is a time of reflection, a moment where they look at their lives and wonder, who am I now? For years, they were mothers, caretakers, and partners, their lives revolving around their children's needs. But now, as the kids grow up and leave home, something unexpected happens. She begins to realize that she's not just a mother or a wife anymore. She's an individual. And during this period of self-discovery, many women begin to feel that something is missing, something they haven't felt in years. It's the need for fulfillment, for personal growth, and for a sense of independence outside of the family role she's been playing. She starts asking herself the difficult questions: is this it? Is this all there is? And that's when she looks at her partner. She looks at the man she once dreamed of growing old with, and she wonders if he's still the same person she fell in love with. Or if, perhaps, she's grown in ways he hasn't. It's not that she no longer loves him, it's that she's outgrowing the version of herself that she was when they first met. And in that realization, she finds herself drifting, unsure of where her future lies. The spark, once so bright, starts to dim. She starts to ask herself, do I still want this? 5. Intimacy and physical changes. The decline of physical intimacy can be another catalyst for emotional distance. As the years pass, women's bodies change. Menopause, weight gain, or just the effects of aging can take a toll on how women see themselves physically. But what happens when they feel unattractive and neglected by their husbands? It creates a distance. Women start feeling as though their partner is no longer interested in them, and this emotional detachment starts to wear on them. Physical intimacy is often the glue that holds a relationship together. It's not just about the act itself, but about the closeness, the connection, and the reassurance that their partner still finds them desirable. When that intimacy fades, it leaves behind feelings of loneliness, inadequacy, and frustration. And the more a woman feels this way, the more distant she becomes from her husband. It's a vicious cycle: the less intimacy, the less connection, and the more the relationship erodes. What was once a passionate, affectionate bond now feels distant and disconnected. And the spark that used to be there? It seems to be gone. 6. Unresolved conflicts and communication breakdown. As the years go by, the cracks in the relationship become more visible, yet they often go unaddressed. Small issues that once seemed insignificant now build up over time. Money problems, differences in parenting styles, disagreements over future plans, these things accumulate in the background of the marriage, festering without ever being resolved. The problem isn't necessarily the issue itself, but the failure to communicate about it. Over time, the lines of communication begin to close. Conversations that once involved deep discussions and honest feedback now become surface-level exchanges, barely scratching the surface of the real issues. She might try to bring up something that bothers her, but his response is dismissive, or worse, defensive. So, she stops trying to communicate. The emotional disconnect grows. She begins to feel that her voice isn't heard, and the more she feels unheard, the less she shares. The intimacy isn't just physical, it's emotional. And when communication breaks down, so does the intimacy. She starts feeling frustrated and resentful. How can she love someone who doesn't even listen to her needs, or worse, dismisses her feelings? These unresolved issues pile up, eroding the foundation of the marriage, leaving behind a relationship that's hollow at its core. It's not about the arguments anymore, it's about the silence, the avoidance of dealing with the real problems. 7. The desire for independence and personal growth. As women grow older, they often find themselves at a crossroads. They've spent so many years putting their partner's needs, and sometimes even their children's needs, ahead of their own that they lose sight of who they are outside of those roles. It's a natural part of life to undergo periods of self-reflection and personal growth, but for many women, this growth isn't mirrored in their relationships. As they enter their 40s and 50s, they begin to realize that they've given up parts of themselves to maintain the marriage. The dreams they once had, the passions they set aside, now seem more important than ever. She starts to ask herself, who am I outside of being his wife or their mother? What do I want for myself? This realization doesn't mean she no longer loves her husband, it simply means that she's been neglecting herself for so long that she's now desperate to reclaim the parts of her that were lost. The desire for independence grows. She yearns for adventure, for a life where she can make decisions just for herself. She might start picking up new hobbies, enrolling in classes, or even traveling alone. These new endeavors make her feel more alive, more connected to herself, and when her husband doesn't understand or support her newfound independence, it causes a rift. She wants more, but he doesn't see it or, worse, he fears it. He's stuck in the role of the man who's always been the one to make the decisions, and she's not willing to play that part anymore. This is where the distance between them widens, she's growing, evolving, but he's still the same. And she begins to wonder, is he the person I want to continue growing with? 8. Financial stress and its impact on love. Money has always been one of the most significant stressors in a marriage, but as time goes on, financial pressures can feel even more intense. When you're younger, the financial burden might seem less critical, but as you get older, concerns about retirement, paying off debts, and saving for the future become a much bigger deal. If the couple's finances are mismanaged or if one partner feels that the financial burden is more heavily placed on them, the resentment starts to build. Women, in particular, often feel the weight of financial concerns. Managing the household budget, figuring out the costs of raising children, or even balancing work and personal expenses can take a toll. When their husbands aren't pulling their weight, or when the financial strain is unequal, the tension becomes palpable. The stress of not having enough money to live comfortably, combined with the lack of shared responsibility, can result in feelings of anger, frustration, and helplessness. She feels like she's carrying more than her share of the financial load, and her husband doesn't seem to notice or care. The emotional toll that financial strain takes on a relationship cannot be underestimated. It leaves both partners feeling drained and unappreciated. Money problems are never just about the numbers, it's about how they affect everything else. The emotional toll from financial strain can lead to more emotional distance between partners, further eroding the connection that once existed. And as this stress continues to build, the love that once seemed so strong starts to weaken. 9. The need for respect and equality. Over time, the need for respect in a marriage becomes more and more critical. In the beginning, a relationship thrives on mutual admiration, appreciation, and shared goals. But as the years go by, that respect can begin to fade, especially if one partner feels undervalued or overlooked. Women, in particular, can feel that they are not being treated as equals in the marriage. When they're doing the emotional heavy lifting, carrying the majority of the responsibilities, and still not being recognized for their contributions, it breeds disillusionment. She starts to feel like an afterthought, as if her needs and desires are secondary to his. Respect isn't just about being treated well, it's about being seen, heard, and valued as an equal partner. When this respect starts to fade, the relationship suffers. Women don't want to feel like they're just there to serve, to meet someone else's needs, while their own go unnoticed. When they don't feel respected, their emotional investment in the marriage starts to fade. They pull away, emotionally and physically, and this creates a dangerous cycle of dissatisfaction. Without respect, there can be no love, no connection, no trust. The emotional toll that comes with a lack of respect is devastating and leads to a breakdown in communication, intimacy, and ultimately, love. 10. The desire for change and new experiences. By the time women reach a certain age, they begin to crave new experiences. Life feels like it's on the verge of something bigger, and they want to take full advantage of the time they have left. It's a desire for change, change in routine, change in lifestyle, and, sometimes, change in their relationship. They want to see the world, try new things, and experience the freedom that comes with not having the same obligations they had when they were younger. But when their husbands aren't open to this change, or when they don't share the same desire for new experiences, it creates a sense of frustration. Women might want to travel more, meet new people, or pursue new goals, but if their partner doesn't understand, doesn't want to be part of it, or feels threatened by it, that frustration builds. She begins to feel like her marriage is holding her back, like she's trapped in a routine that no longer satisfies her. This is not about not loving her partner, it's about wanting more, about feeling like she's still got so much life left to live, and she's not sure if that can happen within the confines of her current relationship. If her husband doesn't understand or support her need for personal growth and exploration, the gap between them widens. It's a longing for independence, freedom, and new experiences that, when ignored, leads to feelings of resentment. It's easy to look at all these reasons and think that love, over time, is bound to fade. But it doesn't have to be that way. If any of these signs resonate with you and your relationship, now is the time to take action. Start talking. Don't let silence be the thing that drifts you apart. Be honest with each other about how you're feeling. Don't wait for things to improve on their own. Make the first move today. And if you've been struggling, don't hesitate to seek professional help. Couples counseling, honest conversations, or even simply taking small steps together to reignite the spark, these things matter. Love isn't gone, it's just buried under the weight of life's challenges. But with the right effort, you can rediscover that connection. If this video has made you reflect on your own relationship, or if you know someone who could benefit from hearing these truths, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more real conversations about love, relationships, and growth. Every step you take toward improving your relationship is worth it, and we're here to guide you through that journey. So, take that first step today. Don't let love fade, rekindle it. Like, share, and subscribe to keep these conversations going, and together, we can all grow and strengthen our relationships.